Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a really fascinating philosophical journey. Our mission for this deep dive is to explore the observation logs of digital strategist Tommy Yoshida, also known by his Japanese name, Yoshida Tsutomu. We're going to be pulling insights from both the Japanese and international editions of his main writings, unpacking a phenomenon that is quietly, but fundamentally, rewiring how our entire world operates. We're talking about the democratization of capabilities. And the big question we want to ponder today isn't about jumping to a simple conclusion, but rather exploring this deeply. In an era where technology allows anyone to use professional tools, do experts just vanish, or does their role fundamentally change? Well, to kick things off, let's look at a seemingly ordinary, everyday moment that actually sparked this entire line of thought. So, picture this scene for a second. Yoshida is sitting around a table at a reunion. He's catching up with 6 of his old friends from junior high and high school, swapping stories, and sitting right there among them is a veteran editor-in-chief, a guy who has spent years deep in the traditional publishing industry. This old friend proudly announces to the rest of the table that Yoshida has just published a book. And almost immediately, without missing a beat, several people react with the exact same assumption. They ask, doesn't publishing a book cost a lot of money? I mean, it's such a natural, relatable question, right? For generations, that was the absolute, undeniable truth. But Yoshida's response was simply, not anymore. Today, there's Amazon KDP. He explained how, right now, individuals can publish physical paperbacks without printing thousands of advanced copies or hoarding boxes of inventory in a garage. And at that exact moment, Yoshida noticed a subtle shift in his editor friend's expression. It wasn't shock necessarily, or even dismay. It was just this quiet realization that the very definition of publishing a book had completely transformed. To really understand why that editor's expression shifted the way it did, let's move right into Section 1, the act of publishing, from organizations to individuals.
When you lay it out like this, the sheer contrast in friction is just staggering. Think about it. For our generation, putting out a book had a very heavy, prestigious ring to it. Under the traditional publishing model, you had to get a publisher to approve your pitch. You needed an editor to help construct it, a massive printing company to mass produce it, and a huge distribution network just to get it onto physical bookstore shelves. It required immense organizational power and capital. But contrast that with modern self-publishing. Today, to get a book out, Yoshida literally just needs a PC, an internet connection, his manuscript, and a platform. Zero physical inventory. A book is only printed the exact second a reader actually clicks order. The massive, sprawling infrastructure that used to act as a mandatory toll booth has been entirely bypassed by these lean, everyday tools that are available to practically anyone. The physical result, holding a book in your hands, is exactly the same, but the mechanism to actually get there, it's fundamentally different. And this mechanical shift perfectly sets the stage for Section 2, the paper and digital reversal, or what I like to call a beautiful irony. Because at that reunion table, a truly poetic contradiction revealed itself. We are living through such a bizarre transition period right now. Consider Yoshida, the digital author. He openly admits he rarely reads paper books anymore. His reading, his writing, his entire workflow lives overwhelmingly on computer screens. Yet, using entirely digital means, he birthed a physical, tactile paperback into the world. Now contrast this with his friend, the veteran editor, a man who essentially only consumes printed paper. So you have this amazing scenario where a person who barely touches paper creates a paper book, specifically so that a person who only touches paper can read it. It's wild. They are looking at the exact same physical object, but they've arrived at it through completely different universes. For the editor, the book represents the continuation of a lifelong traditional profession. But for Yoshida, the book is just a physical extension of a purely digital process. Which naturally brings us to a massive, looming question. In an era where individuals can publish on their own, where anyone can just hit a button and entirely bypass the traditional gatekeepers, what do publishers and editors actually handle anymore? If they aren't needed to run the massive printing presses or warehouse the physical inventory, is their entire industry obsolete? And this isn't just about books or editors. This gets to the very core of the central anxiety of our modern age. Let's explore that exact anxiety in Section 3. Will experts become unnecessary? Redefining professional value. To really unpack this, we have to grasp the core concept at play here: the democratization of capabilities. As Yoshida clearly notes in his writings, digital transformation is not just about turning paper documents into PDFs. It's way bigger than that. Its deepest, most profound effect is giving everyday individuals the literal keys to the castle. It's taking tools and processes that used to require millions in capital, massive organizational scale, or highly specialized training, and just handing them over to everyday people.
We've seen it in computing, we've seen it in media production, and wow, are we seeing it right now with AI. But here's the catch. Just giving everyone access to a hammer doesn't automatically make everyone a master carpenter. So what actually happens to the experts? Well, just because an individual can publish a book on their own doesn't mean the value of a seasoned editor just evaporates into thin air. In fact, you could argue their enduring value becomes even more critical. Publishers still hold immense power when it comes to editing, providing vital context, curating quality, building a recognizable brand, and utilizing professional judgment. They help ensure the truly great ideas actually reach the right readers in a massive sea of endless content. Because distribution and marketing, they still require a highly sophisticated touch. The fact that anyone can publish certainly doesn't mean everyone should publish without guidance. The underlying structure of the industry is changing, absolutely, but the deep human need for quality and curation, that hasn't gone anywhere. And this crucial point is captured perfectly in this profound realization from Yoshida. Experts do not necessarily disappear when technology democratizes a capability. Their role changes. I really want you to let that sink in. We don't need to jump to this doom and gloom conclusion. The technology is just going to wipe out seasoned professionals across the board. Instead, it forces a shift. The expert is no longer the gatekeeper standing there saying, no, you are not allowed to use the printing press. Instead, the expert becomes the guide, the curator, the contextualizer. When the basic tools are no longer exclusive, true expertise creates value in entirely new places. It's a massive shift from simply controlling the means of production to elevating the quality of the final production. And this philosophical shift isn't isolated to just one industry. Let's zoom out and move into Section 4, an era of shifting boundaries, looking at the macro impact. Yoshida describes this incredibly surreal feeling when a physical paperback of his very own book arrived at his doorstep. He holds it in his hands, turns the pages, physically places it on his bookshelf. He fully possesses the final, tangible product without possessing a single piece of the traditional, heavy equipment that used to be required to make it. And holding that book, it hit him. The boundary of who can become a publisher is quietly, inevitably moving. It's an invisible line in our society that dictates who has power, who has a voice, and who is allowed to create. And that line is shifting beneath our feet every single day. Because, as you can probably guess, this goes so far beyond just publishing books. This widespread democratization empowers local communities, small mom-and-pop businesses, and independent individual creators. Entities that previously completely lacked the substantial capital or the organizational scale to compete can now access world-class capabilities right from their laptops. Whether it's a small regional business utilizing AI integration to streamline their daily operations, or a local creator suddenly reaching a massive global audience, the old barriers to entry have crumbled. The tools belong to everyone now. But as we've discussed, having the tools is only the very first step of the journey. Which brings us to our final thought. I want to leave you with a question to deeply contemplate, rather than just handing you a rigid conclusion. As Yoshida says, we have to continue to observe where this change leads us. But as you navigate your own career, your own hobbies, your own specific industries, I want you to ask yourself this. When access to basic tools is no longer exclusive, what new value will you provide? When literally anyone can do the mechanical part of your job at the push of a button, how will your unique expertise evolve to guide, to curate, and to elevate the final result? It's a challenging, exciting, and profoundly important question for all of us to sit with. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I highly encourage you to keep observing these shifting boundaries in your own life.